I guess the logical question here, the natural first question is, where you been?
Well, I've been on hiatus. What do they call it when you're in academia and you get some time off?
You were in a sabbatical.
Sabbatical, that's the one. I just got really sick of touring and I couldn't make any money at it anymore. Mm. When I started making records on my own after I got off BMG, file sharing had just begun. So that's the foot I got started off on. And
yeah, let's just follow up on that thought there for a second, because really Crash Test Dummies more or less ceased to be before there was YouTube, before there was Wikipedia, before there was Twitter and Facebook and MySpace. Mm-hmm. So
we barely had laptops and internet.
Yeah, it's actually true. Yeah. So that just gives you, perspective on the time that's passed.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible. I remember trying to get dial-up in Germany for email, and I'd spend 2 hours trying to get my email downloaded. It was, and even that was a miracle back then.
Mm-hmm. So you were on a sabbatical, which isn't that, it was the right word, but weren't you teaching?
Yeah, I guess. I did some teaching. I taught some summer boot camp songwriting programs, mm-hmm. and I tried and failed at voiceover work. I think voiceover work didn't like me, and I didn't like voiceover work. It's kind of odd because you'd think I'd be a shoo-in, right?
Yeah, you would. But were you is this in New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty tight competition.
Yes, it is.
Very closed society.
Yeah, very closed. And it's like being a recording artist. If you have a hit, then you'll get more work, and if you don't, then you just won't.
They already had that deep voice guy that could go, "In a world where."
Exactly. I know. There is that one guy. If he died, I could take over there.
I think he is dead. No, seriously, I think he did die.
Oh, really? Because there is one guy who does just about all those things.
Yeah.
Monster Truck.
Only on pay-per-view.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Okay. So that didn't work out.
That didn't work out, and it's also a terrible lifestyle because basically you have to sit around and be on call all day. And if nothing comes in, then you've just sat around all day and you could have been doing stuff. Mm. And if something does come in, it's always at the last freaking minute and you're rushing there to get into a lineup, a herd of people that are all vying for the same part. So it's a very discouraging business. Not much fun.
I've done my fair share of it, and I hate it too.
Yeah.
Because you go to the audition, and you either have what they want or you don't, and you're treated like a piece of equipment, which is the gig.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all right. So the voiceover thing didn't work out. Then what?
Then I met this guy, Stuart Lerman, who is Suzy Roach's partner. Suzy Roach is probably an obscure name to you, but not to me, buddy. Back when I was 16, I saw the Roaches, who were wildly popular then in that folk genre.
Roches.
Yes.
Roaches, right.
They even worked that into one of their songs. And as a point of interest, we spell our last name R-O-C-H-E. Anyway, I always thought the Roaches were the greatest, and then we got to do a show with them, and I got to know them a little bit more. I got to know Suzy Roach in particular, and her husband, as it turns out, is an amazing musician. He's a writer, he's a producer, he mixes, he records, he's done hundreds of bands. Now he can't really get a lot of work with bands because the music industry being what it is, so he's working on Martin Scorsese's film scores right now.
Oh,
but
what a shame.
Yeah, what a shame, I know. But he did want to have a kind of a creative outlet, and when he met me, he was very interested in collaborating, and I said, listen, man, I can't make money with music anymore. I tried, and it didn't work. And so we just made the record anyhow, for its own sake, as it were. And he and I got together maybe once or twice a month, and after a while we were getting such great results that we thought, well, might as well make a record out of it. And there's 11 songs on this record, Ooh La La, which is coming out on May 11th. And there's 30 more waiting in the can. So I'm set up for releases for the next few
Next
years.
little while. Now, I'm looking at this packaging. This is gorgeous.
Thank you.
This, I mean, you can't maybe see it on the camera, but you know the fake-looking groove, well, the fake grooves on the CD with the old school label in the middle.
There's like 20 pages
20
of
page
lyrics and
book.
credits
And
all kinds of hidden references to videos and songs past. The woman who did this, Junie Moon, was a huge Crash Test Dummies fan for many, many years. And she knows our material inside out, so she was just the perfect graphic designer for it. I think if you're going to put out a CD in this day and age, it better not be in a jewel case, and it better be interesting, because those stupid jewel cases just break in your hand right away anyhow.
I hate them.
And God knows the world of vinyl and the nice record covers that you had going on there. I really miss that still. Actually, a friend of mine, Stuart Cameron, who's playing with Crash Test Dummies on the next tour, just got out his dad's vinyl collection. And God, they sound so good. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but it really does. The bottom end on vinyl is so beautiful.
I bought myself a turntable for Christmas.
Did you?
I did, because
That's a great idea.
I had an Akai belt drive turntable that I bought with money for my first part-time job at an ice cream stand in 1977, and that was the only turntable I'd ever had. And
did it have the strobe on it?
it didn't have the strobe, but you had to pay extra for that.
Okay.
But
I remember that era
yeah.
of turntables.
So I bought myself a Technics SL1200 with this, you know, industrial strength direct drive platter and the strobe and everything. And I started playing records, and I've completely reversed my earlier point of view, which was, CDs sound better.
Yeah, because
Completely.
there's no scratches and stuff.
No.
And
No.
that is a bonus. If you're listening to classical music and the dynamics are all over the place, when they're playing really quiet, you can hear the hiss of the record.
Yeah.
And I think classical music freaks really like that wasn't a problem anymore with CDs. But for rock and roll, that thumping bottom end just comes out on the...
Yeah, you really do. I played some for my nephew, and he was like, really? Wow, that sounds good. So let's talk about this record. I mean, like you say, 11 tracks here. Crash Test Dummies have always been known for being willing to take chances and experiment with different sounds. I mean, there's folk, there's alternative, there's pop, there's a little bit of electronics. How would you characterize the experimentation with this record?
Well, the experimentation on this record was very specific because I had discovered an old 1970s amateur hobbyist instrument called the Optagon. And the Optagon has buttons for your left hand, which you push. Say you push the C chord, it'll go bum, dun, 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 and then you play the melody on your right hand. Now the difference between the Optagon and all the rest of those kinds of hobbyist instruments is that the Optagon employed this strange, eerie precursor to digital technology in an analog way. In other words, you put this physically floppy disc, I say floppy because they aren't like a vinyl LP, put them into the keyboard and say that disc is called Nashville. Well, when you press the C chord, it'll come up, and when you go to F, it'll go, so you've got a country band at your fingertips. Then say you want to try something else. You could put up a disc of military march beats and write a song to that if you wanted to. I mean, they had a disc for every genre of music you could think of. And so I began composing on that, and as a result, the music is just all over the map. It's very, very experimental. And in fact, I wrote in genres that I couldn't write on the guitar. We did one that was kind of a big band tune, and you know, I pressed buttons to compose it. And when I went to learn to play it on the guitar, I was like, "Screw this! I'm hiring a guitar player. It's too hard."
Well, there's one song on the album called "You'd Meet Me in You said you'd meet me in California, and I thought, oh, it sort of sounds like somebody's playing one of those old Bon Tempe organs.
Yes, yes.
And you would, it doesn't sound dated for anybody who hasn't heard it yet, does it? Because you know what it actually sounds, and somebody pointed this out, it sounds like Gorillaz.
Yes, yeah.
So it's very contemporary sounding, even though it's this old weird instrument from the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a kind of a weird haunting atmosphere to all the discs because they have this kind of faraway, scratchy quality. and it makes them sound like they're from a different era. Well, earlier than the 70s even, because it was a different era then. But it's almost like there's a patina of age on the different discs.